What's going on, guys? Got a nice little presentation for you guys right quick. Um, I want to talk to you guys about something that my father talked to me about is that I want to talk to you guys real quick about how you're raised. You know, no one has the perfect upbringing. Everyone has challenges in how they were raised. I didn't have the perfect upbringing growing up. My mother and father split. I was raised in the suburbs all my life. You know, but my grandparents instilled a lot of real things in me, and I had people around me to give me, God-given wisdom, and I'm thankful for that. But I want to talk about how a person is raised because I don't think people really understand that. You wonder why certain people act the way they act. You wonder why some people have the mindset they got. Well, it's because how they were raised. My dad always told me that you gonna be like the people that you around. You know, if you're around intelligent people, you're going to be intelligent. If you're around dumb people, you're going to be dumb. And you take on the value system of the people that you're raised. Like, I'm always quoting things in my presentations that my father told me, that my grandparents told me, because these are the people who had a significant impact on my life. These are the people who instilled God-given wisdom in me. These are the people who made me as brilliant as I am. My grandparents always told me a lot of real stuff growing up as a kid, you know, um, you know, and you're going to take on the value system and the character and the qualities of the people that you come from. If you raised, in a dysfunctional environment, then, that's going to make you a dysfunctional person, and I think people need to start paying attention to how people are being raised, and when you understand the upbringing of a person, when you understand the environments that a person grew up in, you'll get a better understanding of them. See, a lot of people are so quick to throw shade at people, but you don't know their upbringing. You don't know their life story. You know, everybody not raised the same. Everybody don't have the same type of parents. You know, um, see, my father and my mother weren't equally yoked because, see, my dad was raised suburban. Mom and father educated. That was how my uncle and my father were raised. See, my mother didn't come from that kind of background. My aunt and my mother lived in the ghetto. You see what I'm saying? That's why see, water seeks its own level. That's something that my grandfather told me growing up all the time. I used to hear my granddad say that. Water seeks its own level, and it's very, very true. Water seeks its own level. You're going to be like the people that you're around, and you're going to take on those qualities. So this is one of the reasons to why I'm not so quick to throw shade at people or bash people, because you don't know how they were raised. You don't know the background they come from. You got some people, they didn't even have a mother or father to raise them. They was raised in the streets. They was raised by the dope boys and OGs on the block. See, that's a life that I don't know nothing about because I didn't grow up like that. So it's all in how you were raised. And when people start to understand that how a person is brought up, that's going to make them the way they are, because I know people are so quick to judge people and, label people squares and, label people oddballs, but you don't know how a person was raised. You don't know the type of background they had, See, people become like what they're around. If you're raised in the trenches, then that's the type of person you're going to be. Unless you have parents that steer you in a different direction. You got some people who was raised in dysfunctional environments and they turned out to be very successful because it's all about who you got in your ear and who's instilling certain values in you. See, I would have been totally lost if it wasn't for my grandparents, if it wasn't for my dad. See, I'm so lucky to have a father, and a lot of guys didn't have no man, and, even my grandfather, as a kid, he instilled a lot of jewels in me. Even though my grandfather, had some health issues, he always instilled a lot of gems in me. And that's why I'm able to give all the wisdom that I have to give, You got to have people around you that have sense, people that's instilling good things in you. And, nobody's life is perfect. Nobody's upbringing is perfect. I wish that my parents would have never divorced, because, it's good when kids have that equal balance, when they have two parents. But, some things just wasn't meant to be. But I'm thankful that I had a father that had wisdom. I'm glad that I had grandparents who had some wisdom, people that instilled the right things in me, because you got to have people that's giving you some wisdom in your life, And my mother, she was a vindictive type of woman. She was always trying to cut, she was always trying to cut things that my grandparents and my father would tell me down, because she's just being a hater, One thing I had to learn, anytime somebody always got something negative to say about a person, they just being a hater. If a person always got something negative to say about somebody, they just being a hater. At the end of the day, they just being a hater. They are being a hater. So I just want to tell you guys, don't let people bash you or try to ridicule you for, the way that you are. People who want to label you a oddball, or, just people who want to label you a square, because people are so quick to judge what they don't understand. And see, everybody have different upbringings, and everybody was not raised the same way. Everybody wasn't brought up the same way. This is why, because I used to wonder why my father was always stressing to me how you're being raised. My dad was always talking about your upbringing and how you being raised. It matters a lot. The way you being raised, the people that you're around, the environments that you grow up in, that's going to determine who you are as a person. The way you being raised. And you got, unfortunately, you got some people who wasn't raised in the best way. I'll just say that. But my dad always put a lot of emphasis on the way you being raised, because it matters. It definitely matters. And, I don't feel, one thing I can say about my life, at least I never had no legal issues. At least I never been locked up, And I used to be ashamed to say this, but I'm glad that I was raised in the suburbs all my life. I used to be ashamed to say, I was raised in the suburbs all my life. I'm glad to say it now. Yeah, how you being raised, that has a lot to do with the way that a person is. The reason why some people think the way they think, the reason why some people act the way they act, well, is how they were raised. Some people come from real bad environments. They was raised in a real terrible way. You got some people, they didn't even have no guidance of their parents. They didn't even have no guidance of their parents. So, how you being raised, that plays a big role in why people are the way they are. And that's why I never been the type of person to bash people, to judge people, because you don't know how people was raised. And you got some people that was raised a certain way and they try to go against the grain. But I feel, most people who do that, those are young kids that don't know no better. Once you get good and grown, you stick to the values that were instilled in you as a child. Yeah. I just want to tell you guys that the way that you being brought up, man, it matters a lot. Some people can't help that they turned out to be in the bad position that they in, because they didn't have no guidance. They was raised in a real bad environment. You got a lot of these young kids nowadays. They ain't being raised in the best environments. They not even being raised by good parents. And that's why they grow up to be all messed up, all effed up. That's why a lot of these children, they grow up to be all effed up, because they not being raised right. They don't have no parents that's instilling them, that's instilling the right things in them. You know, you got a lot of these parents nowadays, they not teaching their kids nothing. And that's why a lot of the kids grow up to be so lost and don't have a clue about life or a clue about anything, because they're not being raised. And before I end this presentation, my dad always told me raising a person is doing more than just feeding them and clothing them and putting them in front of a TV. It's teaching them, giving them the tools that they need to succeed in this thing called life. That's what raising a person is. Feeding a person, giving a person a place to stay, giving a person a plate of food, that ain't raising nobody. It's teaching a person, putting things in their head that they can utilize when they go out into this world. That's raising somebody. But you guys leave your comments, subscribe if you haven't already. Talk to you soon. Peace.